After months of lockdowns and pain, an all-important milestone has finally been met. New South Wales now the first state to hit that 70% fully vaccinated target. Joining me now for his first Breakfast TV interview is the brand new Premier, Dominic Perrottet. Premier, good morning to you. Congratulations.
Thanks, Karl.
I will say this, though, you've kind of swanned into the leadership like it's the final leg of the Tour de France, all the glory lap.
Well, I got the timing right, but it's a great day, Karl, for our state. I mean, hitting that 70% mark, we've always said that vaccination is the key to our freedom, so a very important day for the people of New South Wales.
You held a crisis cabinet meeting about the state's roadmap last night. Are you bringing anything forward a couple of days?
We're not bringing anything forward, Karl. We said from the outset that Monday would be the day, the Monday after 70%, and our discussions with industry and businesses are in terms of getting ready for that date, that we should keep the stability there. But later today, we'll also be making an announcement for a number of changes to the roadmap, which will bring certain things forward and lift some caps on a range of things as we move through this difficult period of time.
OK, are you ready for the scrutiny of this top job?
Oh, the scrutiny in any job, there's always scrutiny as Treasurer, Karl, for the 5 years that I served in that role, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot more scrutiny in this role, but that's part and parcel of public life. You embrace that, and ultimately you're here to make a difference to the people of New South Wales, and it's a real honour and privilege to have this opportunity, and I'll put everything into it.
Gladys was incredibly popular, especially, I think, with women. That can't be underestimated. You are also anti-abortion. How do you say to the women of New South Wales, trust me, I've got you?
Well, Karl, I think look at my track record. I mean, obviously, as has been pretty well set out, I'm a person of faith, but that's very much a private matter for me. And in public life, I'm here to represent everyone. And a number of measures that we've had and that I've certainly implemented as Treasurer of the state, even in this year's budget, we're the first state that brought in miscarriage leave for women in the public service here in New South Wales, premature birth leave. I'm here to serve every single person in this state, a man, woman, or any religious or multicultural background. And I don't believe someone's personal faith should be an impediment to serving as Premier of New South Wales.
Pro-choice is very significant for women, though.
Yeah, absolutely it is, but there's always different views in relation to that. That matter has been settled in the New South Wales Parliament, and as a Liberal Premier, we always provide conscience votes for our members. That matter has been settled, and ultimately it's not an issue in our state going forward. OK,
Mohammed Scaff was released yesterday. He brutally raped one of your constituents, terrorised her in the city. I was appalled yesterday when he was released, especially for his victims. How did you feel about him being released, and what will you do about it, if anything?
Well, obviously that's a matter for the courts, Karl, but you know these were a horrific crime, and it was a very difficult day for our state, because when people have committed those crimes, have served their time, you know, in relation to their sentence, they are obviously at some point in time ultimately released. But it's a very, very difficult day for our community in circumstances where it's a reminder that crime was committed and those horrible incidents occurred. So difficult for our state, difficult for our people, but ultimately it's a matter for the courts, and we have that separation here in New South Wales.
Couldn't you have appealed to the Supreme Court, though?
Well, that's obviously a matter with the Attorney General, and obviously that matter has been settled. I'm unsure in relation to what processes took place from the legal side within the government, but that's a matter for the Attorney General.
I think some people will find part of your faith hard to reconcile. I mean no disrespect by that. Say, for example, if a Scaff brother confessed the crime of the century to a priest, you would have no problem the priest not reporting it, or a child abuser confessing to a priest. How will you handle that with the voting public?
Well, Karl, fundamentally I believe in the separation of church and state, and in relation to confession and those matters like that, my view has always been that, and this gets pretty technical, that if someone is to be absolved of their sins in that form, that they would need to report it to authorities. And that matter would not be an issue under those circumstances. But you know, I think one of the fundamental principles in society in our country is freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and I think that's incredibly important.
You're now the boss of the state, though, and I think that's one thing that people will have trouble with. It's the idea or notion that you're comfortable with a priest hearing confessions about a child abuser and it not being reported.
Yeah, and as I've said, Karl, like in my view, the priest would need to report, should be able to report that to the authorities in circumstances as part of giving absolution. I think that is, absolution should not be given in the confessional in circumstances where true penance would be reporting that crime to the police.
WA Premier Mark McGowan has unloaded about all of you whinging premiers on the East Coast about GST levels. He's sick and tired of paying for everything around the country. Now, have you heard from Mark, a.k.a. Gollum, a.k.a. My Precious, at all since you became leader?
I haven't. I'll give him a call today, Karl, when they wake up.
He should be calling you, shouldn't he?
Look, I'll give him a call. And, you know, we've been paying for Western Australia for some time. I mean, the reality is Western Australia got an incredibly generous deal from the federal government when it came to GST. It's not Mark's fault, Karl. It's not Mark's fault. It was actually a Liberal government over there in the middle of the mining boom that wasted all those mining royalties. And now it's New South Wales and Victoria particularly that are going to be picking up the tab for the other states.
Okay.
And we thought... You go on.
Have you heard from Anna or Dan?
No, I haven't.
What?
But, it's been a busy 2 days. I'll give them a call. I'll get their numbers and give them a call.
You don't have to call them. They can call you and congratulate you. This is part of the problem with Australia at the moment. No one's picking up the phone.
Well, I can tell you, Karl, I've had a very good relationship with all the treasurers across the state during my 5 years, and despite everyone being more focused on division during this period of time between the states, I can tell you the Treasurer's got on very, very well.
Okay. You also had a fiery phone call with the Prime Minister, which he admitted to this week on our program. By all accounts, he's called you all manner of things on conference calls. He really does have a potty mouth, the PM, doesn't he? We hear he called you a something wit on one such call. Did he do that, and is it true?
Well, it's not true, Karl. Did he say that? Well, they're private conversations. But
That's
you want to
yes.
have look, but Karl, there's nothing wrong with having strong, robust discussions. That's what you want in your leaders, and I'm always going to fight for the people of New South Wales. He's going to fight in the national interest, and I think you want passionate people at the top of the government. And ultimately, once we have those robust discussions, we walk out and we get on with it.
I think you should televise them. Sounds like fun. And Premier, just finally, your hands are full at home with a beautiful wife and 6 beautiful kids. Are you hanging up the gloves now you're adding around 8 million more dependents?
We'll see about that. Karl. But I love kids. It's great fun. It keeps me grounded. And one thing, you walk straight in the door and you get treated with complete disrespect straight away. So it's good training for the first question you asked about the scrutiny and abuse you get in this job.
Yeah. Is she ready for not seeing you and the kids ready for not seeing you? It is, in all honesty and seriousness, it's a big sacrifice.
Yeah, it is. And it'll be difficult. But I love my family. I love my job. It's a great opportunity to serve, and we'll work through it like every family across the state works through the challenges of balancing work and family life. It's always difficult. It's going to be no different for me in this role, and obviously we'll make a way to work through this to ensure that it works for both our family and the job.
Premier, good to spar with you, good to talk with you, and all the very best. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Karl.
Okay,
cheers,
bye.
mate.